From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Brayden Neville.
On today's episode, Coach Sal joins the show to break down the Ticats' loss to the Argos over the weekend. Coach O speaks about the Ticats' performance. Kiondrè Smith discusses having his career best performance, and Taylor Powell talks about learning from the loss. It's Monday, September 25th, 2023, and you're listening to Ticats Today. A tough game Saturday night for the Cats, suffering a disappointing loss to the Argos 29-14 in the final meeting of the season between these two teams, and unfortunately being swept in the season series for the first time since 2007. And this game really told us what we already know, and that's that this Argos team is really good. The Ticats went down early and were facing an uphill battle most of the game, and the Cats now sit at 6-8 with the loss, and with the Alouettes win, that put them to 7-7 as well, holding the tiebreaker over the Ticats. Going to be difficult for the Ticats to host a playoff game in these playoffs. Not impossible. It could still happen, but certainly won't be easy, and they'll be needing some help from teams around the league. And of course, they will need to win as many of these final games as possible, starting with the Stamps this Saturday. Coach O spoke about the disappointing loss following the game.
The mistakes we did, we just kind of relapsed with the penalties, and three phases just weren't good enough tonight against a great team. Well, you just point out, the things that he's done well. And, there's throws that he would take back. He didn't see the field, probably the way he wanted to tonight, but, he gained experience. And so I think that's what we take from it. Yeah, every time we take the field, it's to win the football game, but we got to do things to help ourselves. And we did some great things tonight. We really did do some great things, but it was sporadic. We got to string it together consistently. We got to play a little bit better situational football. We had a chance to spark it, brought it to a 2-point game, and took the penalty in the return game. It's just if you take those type of things, it's really going to set you back. You know what? I feel like we're past that as a football team. I think early in the year it really would have affected us. It sure didn't help momentum, but for the most part, I felt the demeanor was pretty solid. I do. I think there's a lot of resolve, a lot of resilience. I feel like we made some key plays. I just, the effort is there. It's the execution. That's what it's about, and we got to do it consistently. When you play a team like that, they've proven time and time again they're going to make you pay. So, credit them. But I'm still proud of our guys, and we got a lot of football ahead of us.
That was Coach O. There were a couple of bright spots in the game on Saturday. First being a major milestone for Simone Lawrence, who was able to pick up 3 tackles in the game, moving him to 10th all-time on the all-time tackles list, passing Kevin Iben, who is the linebackers coach for the Argos. And getting to this milestone really shows the type of career Simone has had and the impact he's had on the league, on the city of Hamilton, and on this Hamilton Tiger Cats franchise. So congrats to him. Kiondrè Smith also had a career night, picking up Performer of the Night with 156 yards on 9 receptions in his hometown. A very special night for him. And he also got to do it on a night where his dad was honored before the game for what he did for the Argos during his time in the league. Ultimately, it didn't end up being enough for a win, but he spoke about having the night he did following the game.
Absolutely. The thing that matters here is the W, and if we don't get that, not all the personal stuff doesn't really matter. I think it's just consistency with the reps we get week in, week out, right? Try to build trust throughout the week in practice, running plays, and getting them right. So when you have a good practice week, sometimes the ball finds you, sometimes it doesn't. It's all about executing. I'm happy that he got honored in front of us, and then after that, it was kind of just refocus, no longer paying attention to that, focus on the game ahead of us. Honestly, it's just a next game mentality. As soon as the fourth quarter ended here, it was on to the next week. You can't dwell on the past. All we can do is review it, fix the changes, and then move forward. I don't think keeping Taylor's confidence is on us, but we do whatever we can. He's a man with a very high IQ, very smart with the game, and so he keeps his confidence up himself by playing well in his preparation. We learned that we can't take penalties and that we have to execute our plays when we get the chance and make our plays when we have the opportunity.
That was Kiondrè Smith. Taylor Powell also spoke following the loss and discussed the challenges of having that slow start against the CFL's top team.
Coming off a big win, we thought we had momentum. You can't really start slow versus a good team like that, and I got to be better at taking care of the ball and learn from it and move on to next week. They're great, man. They're great up front, great in the back end. they make things hard for sure. Yeah, we're just got to take it 1-0, you know, on to Calgary, to be honest with you. I'm already thinking about Calgary next week and excited to play them and get this bad taste out of our mouth. Yeah. They presented a good amount of problems. They're really good up front, sound in the secondary, and their linebackers fly around. But I also think that we gave them a bunch of stuff, and it starts with me, and I got to be better. Confidence will never waver, man. I think I'm the same guy after the last 4 weeks than I am today. It's just going to be, I'm going to show up to work, be the same guy, and I'm excited to get back to work. Yeah, just trying to learn from each rep, each play, and just get better from the things that you did well and learn from the things you did bad, and just don't repeat mistakes.
That was Taylor Powell. It's time to bring on our guest, Coach Sal. Coach, a tough loss for the Ticats, falling 29-14 to the Argos Saturday night. I think we really just saw how good this Toronto team is, but what are your initial thoughts on the game?
Well, I agree with you that Toronto is a very good football team, no question about it. But Brayden, in the pregame with Bubba and Mike Daly, we talked about a blueprint for success. And on offense, we talked about a balanced attack. Well, Powell passed 42 times, and Butler ran only 13 times.
Yes.
We talked about limiting turnovers. We had 2 interceptions. One went for 6 points. So, I don't know that we did well on the offensive side. On defense, we said we need to stop the run, and McMahon ran 12 times for only 43 yards. So they accomplished that. We wanted to stop or limit the big plays. Brissett got a 70-yard TD against us. We wanted some takeaways. Thurman and Elliott provided interceptions, so they did, their part. On special teams, we talked about cover well. Well, Leak, who's a great return guy, on his punt returns had a 4.2 average.
Yeah. So
that's well done. The specials also got a fumble recovery, and that resulted in 3 points for the offense. We said don't take any penalties. Well, McAllister's great run and great return was nullified with a holding penalty. So, our blueprint kind of blew up.
Let's start off with Taylor Powell and his performance. He throws the ball 42 times, which is a crazy number. He has 334 yards, that touchdown, and of course the 2 picks, like you mentioned. What did you think overall of his game?
His game is so much of it depends upon what happens up in front.
Yeah.
And I really think the offensive line lost the line of scrimmage. I don't think they provided him with enough protection throughout the ball game. Now, there was only 2 sacks, but there were so many hurries.
Yes.
That Powell never really got in a comfort zone. Production on first down was limited to 5 yards or less. And when you're in that situation, you're not going to convert too many. Mm-hmm. So, we also had 3 procedure calls against the offensive line. We had missed communication up front, which allowed players to come free, which should never have been coming free. And that's not on the quarterback. That's not on Powell. That he doesn't know that guy's not going to be blocked. He expects him to be blocked. So to give Powell a credit for the game, I think he's got to progress.
Yeah.
And really, you have to learn lessons from a tough loss like this, or you're never going to progress.
With Matthew Schultz healthy, do you want to see possibly him go in this game against Calgary, or are we sticking with Powell?
I think you got to stick with Powell. I think you've brought him along to this point. Yes, he had a step back in this last ball game, but let's give Toronto credit. That's a great defensive group that they have over there, and it made it very tough on him. So I don't want to start switching quarterbacks. We got Mitchell throwing the ball now in practice, etc. So it's going to come down to a decision somewhere along the line. But I don't think it should be Schultz right now.
And you mentioned James Butler and the limited amount of touches he had. Do you think that really attributes to them going down as much as they did so quick in the beginning of the game?
Not necessarily. Again, though, it's a matter of if you run the ball and you only get 3 yards, 4 yards, maybe 5 yards, you're still in a tough position to get your conversion. I think you've got to be able to mix it up on first down and get into, as Toronto was. Toronto would average 7.5 yards on first down.
Yep.
That meant they were always in second down and short. So they had the option of run or pass. And that really puts your defense in a bind. But Butler contributed. I mean, he did his part. He got 32 yards there, and he got 3 passes for 20. And I mean, it was tough sledding against that defense, but he hung in there and did his part.
What would you like to see change on that offense heading into this Calgary game?
Well, I think, let's give a little bit of credit to Kiondrè Smith.
Yes,
he had a great game as a receiver. But White only got 2 passes in the ball game, 2 completions in the ball game. The guy that I think you're missing out on offense is McAllister. McAllister in that ball game had 2 catches for 53 yards. One was a screen pass. The other was a good throw by Powell, where he put White on one side, McAllister on the other.
Yep.
And he looked that free safety off and gave McAllister a chance to catch it. Get McAllister more involved in this ball game. However you have to do it. He's a great breakaway guy, and he balances the offense from receiver's perspective between White on one side and McAllister on the other.
I agree, and you see how explosive McAllister is, especially as a kick return guy, and I'm sure that can correlate to that receiving core. We've seen him make some big plays throughout this season. I don't want to skip past Kiondrè and the game he had because it was excellent. Do you feel like this is the best game you've seen him play in his career so far as a Ticat?
No question. No question about it. I mean, he was fired up to play. Of course, his dad played for both Toronto and Hamilton, so he wanted to make the best of his opportunities, but he caught the tough passes and he turned them into first downs, and he covered the ball. He hang on to the ball after all the hits and whatnot that he took. A great game for him. I hope he continues in that vein.
I'm going to switch to that defense now, and the first thing I want to talk about is Simone Lawrence. He breaks into that top 10 all-time. He's now alone at number 10 on the list in tackles in CFL history. What can you say about the career he's had and being able to get to this big milestone?
Well, number one, thank you to Edmonton for giving him up, allowing the Ticats to have him. He's had such a great run, and he's a senior member of this ball club. He's a leader of this ball club, and you got to love the way he plays the game. Everybody talks about the fact that he's a motor mouth on the field. Yes, he talks a great deal on the field, but he backs it up, and that's what I like about him. And I think, he's very respectful of the game. He understands the game. I know Chad Kelly wasn't pleased with the tackle that Simone made, but if you're going to run with the football, expect to get hit. So to me, Simone is synonymous with Hamilton football. Tough, defensive, sound football player.
I want to talk about that secondary. There were some big plays Chad Kelly was able to complete. What do you think was going on there in terms of not being able to limit those big plays?
Well, I think number one, we missed one player in the ball game, and I don't want to get into specifics about one player not being able to do a job.
Yes,
because that's not true. But at the same time, Toronto was picking on that wide side halfback position, and it's a tough position to play. And I thought Adeleke, even though I wasn't in favor of moving him there initially, showed that he could play that spot and play it well. I think Lawson had a tough ball game. Give him credit. He hung in there and did his very best. But Brissett got 2 touchdowns against him. So, that to me was great game planning as far as Toronto goes, to go after what they saw in the secondary as maybe the weakest link.
With this upcoming matchup with Calgary, you have Montreal, who's 7-7. It's a little bit of a tough uphill battle here to host a playoff game, but is this basically a win-out scenario where Ticats basically need to try and win every single game here?
Well, obviously, they've got to try to win every game.
Yes.
But, I think the ticket right now goes through Montreal. In the last game of the season, you're going to play Montreal, And I would expect right now that the game plan should include every week thinking in terms of Montreal, because you're gonna play them back to back.
Yeah.
If you can get that far, and if you're lucky enough to win out and Montreal falters, then you got an opportunity to have a home field game. But at this point, I wouldn't count on it.
Yes, and I believe they have 2 matchups with the Ottawa Redblacks, and that's no disrespect to them, but I mean, we've seen what we've seen from Ottawa this year. Now the focus is on Calgary. They come to town, what we thought could have been a marquee matchup in the league. It was one that was marked on the calendars at the beginning of the year when Bo Levi Mitchell came to town. Might not have the same meaning without him playing, but how do the Ticats get a victory here against the Calgary team it's almost a little bit similar to them throughout their story of this season?
Well, their story is very similar at the quarterback position for sure. And Carey, their running back, is an excellent running back and can really hurt you and make the big runs against you. I think the matchup is very close in terms of offense and defense. Special teams may make the difference in this ball game. And to go back to just a little bit to the Toronto game, I thought our punter did a great job of placing the ball.
Yes.
He put the ball between the hash mark, between the number and the out of bounds time and time again, which made it very easy for that cover team. But I think the matchup with Calgary, we've always played Calgary well, home and away. So I expect this team will rebound from the Toronto game and play Calgary and win that ball game at home.
Awesome. Well, Coach, as always, it's a pleasure having you on the show today, and we look forward to seeing you at Tim Hortons Field for that home game against the Calgary Stampeders. So thanks again, Coach Sal.
You're more than welcome, Brayden. Talk to you again.